Welcome to Love and Murder. I'm your host, Ky. I'll be joined by host Char. Look, we know we're beating a dead horse with yet another gold digger story, but you must admit that the love of money makes people do strange things, especially when you're a bored housewife and your husband refuses to rock your world in bed. This is definitely an interesting saga, so stay tuned for part 1 of Too Much Candy Makes You Sick tonight on Love and Murder. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Is that how this song goes?
Welcome back. That one.
Oh, okay. I don't know how the song goes. But anyway, today, y'all, we are back to our regularly scheduled program. Oh my God. We have Char here. We have Ky here. We have an actual case here.
Yeah.
We're back to Love and Murder, y'all.
The duo's back.
Oh my God.
Dynamic duo. And we have cases. Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that. Anyways, thank you for joining us tonight. I am your host, Ky, along with my host, the illustrious Char, who y'all haven't heard for a while. But she is here, and she is real, and she's in person.
Bonjour, and hola.
And this is Love and Murder. If y'all haven't joined us before, Love and Murder is a podcast about murder, suspense, stories, humor. And that is Love and Murder. It's about true crime, relationships, gone terribly wrong. And when I say terribly wrong, Char, how wrong do I mean?
Dead wrong.
Dead wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But don't make them too afraid. Look, we don't want to scare you guys. We do have humor. Yeah, we have humor too. So,
but not humor at the victim, but of the craziness of the situation.
Always the craziness, the dysfunction.
So, I want y'all to check us out on wherever you usually listen to your podcast. You could find us on Stitcher. You could find us on Apple Podcasts. You could find us on TuneIn. You could find us basically everywhere. So wherever you listen to your podcast, wherever it feels better for you, just go ahead and find us there and listen to us on that platform. You can follow us on our social media. The links are going to be in the bio. And I'll say this also at the end of the show, but I don't like taking up the beginning of the show with, talking about our links and everything like that. So our social media links are going to be in the bio, but if you really just want to hear me say it, you could tune into the end of the show and listen to me say it there. If you want bonus episodes of the craziest true crime stories, relationship advice, relationship Q&A, and Char's crazy life. When I say Char's crazy life, you really have to tune in and listen to a couple of our episodes.
Too much.
Join us on patreon.com/love and murder and become a subscriber of $3 and above. Also, like us on our YouTube. You'll find the link in the show notes below because we have some crazy stuff coming out there too that will not be anywhere else except YouTube. If you have listened to our show before and you like it, or even if you don't like it, please go to Apple Podcasts, hit the purple button, and give us 5 stars, whether you like it or not. What I'm asking you for is 5 stars.
1, 2,
Say
3,
whatever
4,
you
5.
want in the description, and it helps bring us up in the chart so everybody else can find our show. So, without further ado, let's get into some Love and Murder.
Here we go.
So, the case we're discussing tonight is the case of Candy Montgomery. I think y'all will really like this one. Now, as usual, you know that I like to look up the early lives of everybody, but I didn't find much about these people's early lives. But Candy Wheeler was born in Dawsonville, Georgia in 1950. She was an Army brat, the daughter of a radar technician, so she moved from base to base in her childhood, which is something that I did. She seemed to be born for the wandering life. She was very outgoing. She had an easy rapport with strangers, and she realized at an early age about the power women could have over men. Now, even though she was born for the wandering life, I was born for it in terms of I like doing it, but my personality doesn't match with it at all. I'm the complete opposite of her. I'm a complete introvert. I am very shy. I don't like meeting new people. And I learned at an early age manipulation. I call it that. They called it the power women have over men. It's really called manipulation, folks.
It is.
I I learned that at an early age, and I tested it out for a little while, but then I got bored with it. So
You got bored with manipulation?
I got bored with it.
That's new.
I thought it was an evil power.
Okay.
Well, you don't think so? You don't think it's an evil power?
It is, but to get bored with an evil power, how do you get bored with something that gives you power and control, and you can see the results? It's like, hey, this works. I can get
because it's
a lot of things that I want.
The evil part? Evil?
Oh.
No.
Right, that evil.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I had a flashback. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of see that, weirdo.
Oops.
Well, Candy was a very headstrong child. She knew what she wanted, and she always did whatever it took to get it. And as she grew up, not much changed. She always had an independent spirit, and at 17, 18, so it just said whenever she graduated from high school, she moved out on her own. So some people graduate at 17, some people graduate at 18, some people even graduate at 19.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's say between 17 and 19. She had jobs, she worked hard, she did everything just like everyone else. But what she dreamed about being was a full-time mom and a wife. She just hadn't found the right man yet. Now, Candy was described as petite, blonde, and what they say a little impish. And she had a little tiny nose and a really, really like contagious laugh. So like being like when she laughs, everyone laughs with her. That's what it means by a contagion laugh.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She dated around. That doesn't mean that she dated a lot, but she did date, and she even had a few sexual encounters. But none of these people were the guy she was looking for. She had in her mind that the kind of man that she wanted to marry, I mean, it's going to come as a shocker to you, Char, but the kind of man she wanted to marry had to be rich.
No.
That was her first and foremost rule about who she wanted to be with.
Well, my men don't have to be rich. They just are. But anyway, it's not about
Lord.
me. But no, it's not a requirement. It's just a happenstance. They just find me. But some women, the gold diggers, literally say, you've got to be rich. That's what I'm looking for. It's the only thing I want. But for me, I was just born, lucky like that. The rich find me. I don't find them.
Yeah.
But that's another show, everyone. Yeah. So.
In the early 70s, Candy has been working as a secretary. And I guess she found a man that met her qualifications. His name, Pat Montgomery. I couldn't find how long they dated, but Candy married Pat, and at the time, he was one of the brightest young electrical engineers at Texas Instruments.
Wow.
You know what Texas Instruments is that company that built those, you weren't in school when that was out. Never mind. I was going to say that company that built those calculators, the scientific calculators.
You took me back a bit. That might have been my mom. I don't know.
That wasn't your mom. That was me, my generation.
Oh, you said I wasn't in school. I thought you meant I wasn't young enough to go to school yet.
No, you were too old.
I was already out with family and just keeping it moving. Okay, got it.
When did you graduate high school?
86.
Oh, God.
What were you, 3? Or were you even born then?
I was born, but I was a baby.
Still in diapers.
Good Lord.
Wow. That's you. I can't even imagine that. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Well,
no, I can't even picture it.
Well, he worked for that company in the early 70s. So I don't know what they were making back then in the 70s, but the only way I know this company is that they made the calculators that we had in high school. It was the scientific calculators that we were required to get.
Okay.
So, he made bank. And despite that their family was wealthy and Candy really enjoyed being a housewife, she found herself being incredibly bored at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bored
now, if you're an outgoing person, being a housewife is probably not for you, unless you're really involved in your children's school.
Yeah, and the PTA and
Yeah, and you like have parties for your husband's company and stuff like that, but just being a housewife is probably not the answer for you. So by 1977, Candy and Pat had a son and daughter, and they made the move to the country life, which again
that's even
is
worse.
not. I was about to
you're
say,
like isolated, and you're the housewife that couldn't. Like, no,
Yep.
like, oh my God, poor thing.
And their marriage ended up settling into like a routine,
like mundane.
You know, you wake up, you know, at 6 o'clock, get up, fix his sandwich, kiss him goodbye. He goes to work. You meander around the house. Probably 12 o'clock, you have brunch. 1 o'clock, you get your nails done. 2 o'clock, you go to the mall for a walk with your friends,
or play bridge with your friends at, I don't know.
Yeah,
2
you know, 3 o'clock, you got to get back home, start cooking dinner, and 5 o'clock, the husband gets home. Every single day. Oh my God.
Well, wait a minute. Do you think she would get tired of the shopping part during the day? Because she's got the opportunity to just go
too
shopping.
much of a good thing.
Yeah,
too much of anything. Yeah, exactly.
Too much candy makes you
sick. Pat was providing everything Candy had expected from her husband. He brought home $70,000 a year from his job. But imagine that, $70,000 a year back in the 70s.
Back then it was like 500,000. Maybe more. Well, that won't make you rich. I was about to say, in today's cut.
No, but that was back then. He was rich back then.
Yeah.
Convert that to now, he would have been a millionaire.
Right. Yeah.
And plus he would have probably, like you said, probably been making what, $500,000 a year.
And
maybe?
A couple of good investments will easily tip you over to millionaire status. So yeah, I could see how anyone, could have an amazing life with that type of income.
Yeah, so she got what she wanted, but still, again, like we said, too much of a good thing.
Too much candy makes you sick.
Now, Candy didn't mind taking care of the house and the children, but like I said before, she was just crazy bored. On a late summer day in 1978, while playing volleyball for her church, Candy and a guy named Alan Gore ended up trying to make the play for the same ball. So, the ball came over the net and both of them went for it at the same time. And then they, bounced into each other. It wasn't anything that would hurt either of them. And, people were like, oh, ha ha ha, you bounced into each other. Oh, that was hilarious. Next time, watch where you're going. So everybody else was just like, okay, it's something that happened. But for Candy, it brought on a realization.
Well, there's other men in the world besides her husband?
No, she knew that. She was hot.
Because maybe her husband, because of that mundane routine and just the getting all comfortable and repetitive, then maybe he stopped telling her. Take her for granted a little bit.
Well, let me tell you what the realization brought her.
Okay.
The realization brought her was that Alan Gore smelled sexy.
Oh.
Now, Char, have you ever met anyone that smells sexy?
Oh, yeah.
Me too, I have. Just one person. In my entire life, just sexy, one person.
Yeah, it's a certain scent to it. It's a certain chemistry,
This guy smells of... it's something that you would want to bottle up and make into either like a soap for your laundry or a perfume. That's his baseline smell. That's his smell. The weird thing is his mom smells exactly the same.
Okay, now you lost me.
No, but that's how you... No, wait. No. That's how you know that that's his smell, because his mom smells the same.
Okay, I don't see how...
And then his other siblings don't have... No. His other siblings don't have it at all. It's just him and his mom.
Okay,
that's where the weird thing comes from.
Well, maybe it is part of, the chemical makeup of people for some people. I didn't know.
But him and his mom are they're twins. Good Lord, they look exactly alike.
Oh, so a lot of her really came out in him. Okay.
Yeah, literally. But that's the only guy that I've ever smelled that I could say without a cologne or without added scent, he himself smells sexy. It's so hot. And it took me a while to figure out it was him, because I always thought it was like the detergent they used, so I would always look to see what detergent his mom would use.
It was
and then I would go to the store to try and buy that detergent. So good. So good.
So because we all give off some type of a chemical, some type of a scent because of hormones, but DNA, I don't know. But, oh, you know what?
I mean, it has
well,
to
it
be.
makes sense because DNA still comes, hormones still come from your DNA because they still are produced, you know, a more, I guess you can say an abundance or less of or less than according to your DNA. So that makes sense. I mean,
It has to be. I mean,
yeah,
he didn't pick it up from anywhere else.
right. Wow, that's so
it has
different.
to be. Mm. I mean, it's hot when he passes by, not so hot when his mom passes by. I mean, not that she smells bad. It's just kind of disturbing. But I'm like, you know, like, oh, for her son, and then she passes by. It's like, oh,
yeah,
never mind.
You just don't want to start sniffing your mom-in-law. That's okay. That's just when it gets super weird. So,
yeah. So anyway, for several weeks, she kind of started talking to her friends about maybe having an affair.
Oh.
She told them like she wanted to shake up her very boring life and very boring sex with Pat. Now, this brings me to another question, Char. Have you ever heard of the term Caucasian sex?
No. Well, yes, I have. Yes, I have. A couple of years ago. I definitely heard of that, yes. I think it just means like, I thought it meant boring though. I thought
yeah, that's what I was going to say. What do you think that means?
Like missionary position, typical, nothing exciting, just very, very plain, just average.
Why is it named Caucasian sex? Is that how white people have sex?
Well, see, I don't want to get on the lines of stereotypes, so I don't know. Because I've had sex with white people and it was amazing, so I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so, because you watch flicks and they're not like that.
No, but I think it's just kind of like, some people do look at a particular race and say they probably are just boring compared to other cultures that might be more exciting. I literally
have never looked at a race and been like, damn, you must be boring in bed just because your skin is golden brown or something.
Let me give an example. You know how they say that like people of African or Black descent are just natural rhythm. They have natural rhythm and they're great, amazing dancers, but then they laugh at parties at the white people that are dancing at the parties. They have no rhythm in most cases. And they just can't get that together. You know, if you're a good dancer, you're going to probably be amazing in bed. So imagine if you're like the worst dancer you can. No, think about it. No, think about it.
Necessarily
think
right.
about it, though. It makes perfect sense if you have rhythm. If you don't have rhythm, period, okay, especially in dance, how are you going to have rhythm in bed? That has, like, being good in bed and being exciting and interesting has everything to do with your rhythm, period. Whether you think about it or not, you either have it or you don't. But Black people are naturally known to have rhythm. They just do. I mean, they look at little kids.
Not all,
dance, but quite a few more than not.
Yeah.
There's always an exception to the rule of anything, but yeah. So I think that's probably where that crazy little wives' tale came from. So, but I've definitely heard it before for a reason, apparently. Yes.
I mean, I guess, but I think it's just a stereotype, like you said.
Yeah, possibly.
So I'm wondering if that's what she had and she was looking for something different. Like,
of course, she just felt like it was so mundane and just so average and it was the same.
Why do you say mundane like that? Mundane. It's mundane.
Well, I'm going to say moo like a cow. Moo. Moo.
But it's mundane. It's mundane, not mundane.
Okay, this is not the history. This is not it's not a grammar class tonight. I really don't care. Because I let it go for like the first 2 times, but I couldn't do it anymore. I'm just not going to be with anyone who's mundane on Monday. Okay.
Please don't be with anyone who's mundane because I don't know what kind of disease that is.
Or on Monday, mundane or mundane on Monday. I don't care because I will never be with someone boring or anyone who's complacent. How about that word? Complacent. Can everybody say that one? And that means the same thing. I'm not going to be like that. I can't stand it. Everybody's different. If you marry someone and you don't get to know them, your fault. Because if you get to know someone, surely you have to know.
But you know there are some people who you get to know, and once you're dating them, it's like one way. As soon as they put that ring on your finger, it's like,
true. That is so true.
Yeah,
because they feel like comfortable. They don't have to try anymore to impress
you. I don't have to try anymore. Yeah, like, okay, cool, I got you. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so
sometimes you don't know.
Okay, well that's true. But have you ever heard of a one-trick pony? You can try to impress someone when you're dating, usually with personality, certain traits that's not really that person, being kind, being considerate, being caring, maybe gift giving and all that. But when it comes to sex, you're either one way probably or you're not. That's when you can't fake that too much. Oh,
I
let
mean,
me, oh, let me hold back
that
the
could
good.
be taught. That could be taught.
No,
Like
no,
if the
yeah.
person is willing to learn, if you're not willing to learn, then that's a problem. But sex could actually be taught. That's not a big deal.
Okay, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, Kai, is what am I going to do? What am I going to do as your husband? Turn on the best sex when we're just getting to know each other, or when we get, like when we're just getting to know each other, or when we're dating, and then all of a sudden when we're married and we get past. Well, of course, when we consummate the marriage, get past that part, because of course that should be great. But like, okay, let's say, so now we're into our marriage. I'm just going to turn off the good sex. That's why I'm saying either you're a certain way or you're not. You can always learn, but you can kind of feel these things with someone when it comes to that. I'm not talking about anything else, because people could fake everything else and lie. And then you realize who they really are. And they're like, you weren't even like that when we were dating. But now that we're married, you don't even care anymore. You don't even try anymore. But when it comes to like intimacy, you can only be but so different than you were in the beginning. Does that make sense? So you're either a one trick pony, right? You know what that means. Okay. Or you know a lot more and you're willing to do a lot more. So if he was a one trick pony, then that's her fault. He didn't have more tricks for her. She got bored and now she's looking for someone who can jump through hoops and all that. And that's,
well, he had the money she was looking for.
Right. So to her, everything else wasn't important, and now it matters. See, that's the problem with a lot of women who are looking for someone with money. They don't look for substance. They don't look for personality. They don't look for caring and all of that. And they definitely aren't necessarily they'll probably just accept average in bed and all that because they have the money. They figured it doesn't matter. That's stupid. Stupid. If any of you women out there are doing this right now and you have an opportunity to not get married and make that mistake, don't do it. Think about where your future lies. That's ridiculous. You have to love someone, like someone, care about someone. You don't have to necessarily love them, but you got to have some things in common. Besides the money.
Some of them, sex isn't important, so they're really okay with just a mundane sex, or mundane, as Char says.
Like a cow, mundane on Monday. You gotta say
but
it just
to
like
others,
that.
like Candy, they think about having an affair. Now, Candy was very detailed about the kind of affair she was interested in. And what she was looking for, just like how she was very detailed with the kind of husband that she was interested in, what she was looking for in an affair is explosive sex.
Ooh.
As she put it, quote unquote,
mind-blowing.
She said, I want fireworks.
Oh.
Have you ever had that kind of sex?
Absolutely.
You've had fireworks?
Absolutely. My term was mind-blowing, but it's the same thing. Fireworks. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Maybe she can take applications and just try people out and say, hey, can you give me mind-blowing or fireworks? Next. I
mean, who's not going to say that I can give you mind-blowing sex?
No, plenty of people are not going to say that they can do it if they... No, I don't think every guy says that.
Have you met men?
Yeah, no, but they don't all say that.
More do more than not.
I guess.
What are you talking about? They all think their shit is good.
Well, you can be good, but mind-blowing is different. Fireworks is
They
totally
all
different.
think their stuff is mind-blowing.
Oh, well, okay.
Half the time, the women were just faking it.
Oh, okay, no, that's true. Now, you know what, Kai? You're right about that. I've got to agree with you wholeheartedly because I've done that plenty of times in a certain relationship.
Damn shame.
Certain relationship. No, it's true.
Damn
you know, it's a shame, especially if you're married. That's when it really hurts. It's okay if it's just a boyfriend and maybe you can break up, but when it's a husband, shame. Sad, because it's not going to change. And you're just faking it all the way through the marriage.
But whose fault is that, though? You should have told him from jump, like, you can figure out where your spot is and get him there, and that's your fault if you want to sit there like a dummy and just fake it.
No, see, that's not true, because you know how you said it's like I'm eating my own words. You know how you said that a man will start out one way, right? And they're trying to impress you, and then you get married and they just stop trying to impress you. For me, I was always impressed before we were even serious and we knew each other for years. But then once he got me, that type of thing, it's like not only was I not impressed anymore, but when I try to do more exciting things or ask about certain spots in this direction, this feels great, you know, he just shut down. Some men don't want to be told what to do in bed. They feel very offended. Like, how do you tell me what I'm supposed to do? I'm a man. And so you don't find out these things, Ky.
I bet
Sometimes
you.
until you're deeper into
I
the relationship
bet you,
or the
though,
marriage.
if you're just like, all right, and the next time y'all have sex, you just sit there like a dead doll. And the next time you do it too. And the next time he'll be like, well, why aren't you reciprocating? Then he'll know he's not doing anything. But if you keep faking it, then he's going to be like, well, I'm doing something anyway. Why are you complaining?
Some women don't want to hurt their feelings.
Again,
they don't want to hurt their feelings.
So you want your feelings to be hurt?
You just take one for the team. A lot
Take
of women...
one for what team?
You are the team. The team consists of two people.
There, in the word team for me, there's definitely an I. So screw that.
You spell your team TIEM instead of TEAM.
It would be ITEAM. I comes first.
Oh, got it. Oh my gosh!
So
I know. You guys are crazy. Really, seriously.
I'm not faking crap.
Okay.
I will talk to you, and if you're offended, then I'll just lay there so you can see what reality is.
Wow.
I will start checking my text messages. I'll be laughing at TikTok like, do you see this video? I'll even turn the video around. Watch this one. Look.
Or did I pay the light bill today? Let me just see.
Right. And I'll just be my list. Oh man, I gotta go to the grocery store. I need to get tomatoes, salad. What am I cooking this week? Look, let's just be honest here. You want to be offended? I'll show you offense.
Okay.
Because it's actually offensive that you don't even want to work with me so that I can get some gratification too. That's offensive. So.
Well, you know what? That's why I am no longer with said person. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but it took you a while. So.
It did.
Anyways,
it was the money. It was the money. Call me Candy.
Oh, good Lord. So back to Candy. When she bumped into Alan, literally, she ended up wondering to herself, could a man like this make, as she put it, as she says, the earth move?
Ooh.
And at first glance, now check this out. At first glance, he didn't look like it. Alan had a receding hairline and the beginnings of a pudgy stomach.
Okay.
And he dressed like really like womp womp womp.
Right.
So basically, he had nothing that would make a woman go ooh.
Mm-hmm.
But in other ways, he was the kind of man she might be able to have a good time with. She knew Alan and she'd known him for like 9 months. But to her, it seemed like they knew each other for much longer than that.
Oh, they had a
and he had the kind of like the same personality as her. He was active in their church. He loved kids. He was outgoing. He was like in kind of a mixed matched marriage like her, you know. And he sang in the choir and he helped organize the sports team. And he did all of the things that Candy was involved with. He also had a sense of humor, which is a known kryptonite for us women.
Oh, it's definitely sexy. That's definitely a turn on. As a matter of fact, that is a requirement for me personally. So besides the nice teeth.
Oh yeah, I couldn't be with a guy who's not funny.
Okay.
Like just can't take a joke. I cannot
take a joke.
Stand people who can't take jokes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say some people because there's some people who's not in that. But some people I can't stand people who just you can't take a joke. Like it was a joke.
And they get so offended like constantly.
Yeah.
And you can't give it either. You can't give a joke and you can't take a joke. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Make me laugh. Do something.
A guy with a sense of humor is
very sexy.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I agree.
And then they worked closely in the church, so it was only natural that Candy would see a lot of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said this tiny, insistent voice in the back of her brain kept telling her that Alan was anxious to go to bed with her. Now, like I said, it was in the back of her head.
Okay, yeah.
So let's back up a bit and see what's up with Alan's life, because we just heard that he just bumped into her, but there's more to him like that.
I think so, yes.
Bethany Betty Pomeroy was born in 1951 and grew up in Norwich, Kansas. She was frequently the center of attention in her youth, but it wasn't because she was good looking, because mainly she wasn't. She was just a plain woman. She wasn't ugly, but she wasn't, she was just there. She was kind of pretty, so that's why I said she wasn't ugly. She was kind of pretty, but she was like on the plain side of pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it like I'm talking bad. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of just average, I guess.
Yeah, average. I'll put it that.
Average isn't bad. It's not great.
But what people said she had was this innocence about her and this smile that made everyone else automatically smile.
Yeah, I love that with people.
This ended up making her one of the most popular girls in her tiny little hometown.
Wow.
And in college, Betty ended up falling in love with her math teacher, whose name was Alan Gore, and she married him. Her family and friends were just really surprised about this because they couldn't understand what she saw in Alan. Like I said before, Alan was a small, plain man who wore horn-rimmed glasses. He had puffy cheeks, and even at that young age, signs of a receding hairline.
Oh, poor thing.
At that time, he was very shy, which made him come across as stern, aloof, or even snobbish. And I understand this because as a shy person, people just automatically think like, why isn't she talking to me? Oh, she thinks she's better than me, instead of understanding that, like, I'm dying inside. This is why I'm not talking to you.
Or you're mean and, not approachable.
Yeah. And my face, I have resting bitch face, so. My face doesn't help at all.
I kind of think I do too, though. Like, the features, they just look that way even when you're not angry and even when you're not mad. And it just...
literally my resting face, I'm always frowning. And usually I stand with my arms crossed because I don't know what else to do with my arms.
Right.
So it's totally, don't talk to that girl. She's going to kick your ass.
Right. So
and
funny.
I'm just sitting here thinking about, like, I don't know, cars
rainbows
and funny
and
things. Yeah.
And,
and it looks like I'm trying to be a bouncer or something.
Yeah.
And people used to always ask me, what's wrong? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm fine. I'm great. It's a beautiful day, as a matter of fact.
They were like, you look angry. And I'm like, no. Like, what are you talking about? So, yeah. But my mom said, my mom was very shy as a child too, and she said everybody used to think that she was really like snobbish. So I could understand that. So Betty and Alan were married in January of 1970, and then they eventually settled down in the suburbs of Dallas. Betty settled into married life, and when their first child was born, Alan was working for Rockwell International as an electronics conglomerate. I don't know how to say this.
Now it's my turn. Conglomerate. Jill, see, I hope that our listeners are really taking notes, because it's my turn. You're butchering the English language, okay?
I can't say the word. It's a tongue twister for me.
Conglomerate.
Conglomerate. The con and the gl is too much together for my tongue. That's your
fault, because I couldn't say the mundane and the
mundane. Conglomerate. So he was an electronics conglomerate and major defense contractor. So even he was making a lot of money.
Jeez, that's a big position because we can't even pronounce it right now. I'm just kidding.
In 1976, Betty ended up taking a job teaching at an elementary school in the small town where they lived, which was Wiley at the time, which is about 10 miles east of Plano. But she didn't enjoy her work because she couldn't control her unruly students. Students. I was a what do you call it?
Substitute teacher?
For like 3 days.
Man, I'm good. I'm good at these guessing games. I must be psychic.
We've known each other for a long time, so. You and I. So you get to finish my sentences. But I was a substitute teacher for only 3 days. And on the third day, when I realized I was about to punch somebody's child in the face, I realized this wasn't for me. And I left.
Oh,
I couldn't do it.
Let society live freely and happily, please go.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't do it. I let their children be children, and I'll be somebody who's not a substitute teacher or a teacher at all.
Well, but that's just like when I volunteered. Well, no, not volunteered. When I worked in the psych ward, remember, and I talked the woman into the suicide, and she was about to jump, and they let me go. But I was only 17, though, in my defense. But I get it. We both have butchered some positions, too. So I'm pretty good at that.
So she didn't like her job as a teacher, but at the same time, she didn't like to be left home alone when Alan had to travel. So she was just all around stressed out.
Yeah.
But despite her unhappiness, she had decided, as the new school year began in the fall of 1978, that they should go ahead and have their next child. But this time she wanted the pregnancy to be planned down to the exact week so that the baby would be born in midsummer and that she wouldn't have to take any time off from teaching.
Oh, okay.
Now, as women know, most women know that this isn't something that you could really plan. No matter how much you plan, it's going to happen when it happens.
Yeah, I'm going, how do
it
we
may
do
work
that?
out. It might work out
what?
for some people.
Yeah.
But that's just not the norm.
Mm-mm.
So this ended up being especially hard since their sex life had already dwindled down to almost nothing. And then, because now she wanted a kid, when they did have sex, it was just the complete, I guess that's what they call Caucasian sex.
Yeah.
It was just completely mechanical. So they were just literally doing it straight out of the biology books.
Right.
This is how a child is born.
And this is where this goes in that hole.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Oh no, how uninteresting.
Yeah. So being that Betty wanted another kid when she said she wanted another kid, Alan was required to have clinical sex, as they called it, with her every night during her estimated fertility period.
Well, that's not unusual for couples to have it specifically on the calendar.
That sounds terrible.
No, but that's recommended by doctors and professionals, experts, sex therapists as well, to plan it very precisely if you really want to have a child. I mean,
that
for some people it's romantic, but they tell you this is
how
business.
Does that sound
point.
Romantic to you?
No, I said for some people you can do that romantically, even though it's precise. Like, set some candles or music, but they tell you, okay, no, you've got to do it this day, that day, and you've got to be consistent. And, and then the wife will say, well, honey, the doctor said we've got to do it tonight. We've got to do it Thursday, but Tuesday at this time. And because it's all formulated. I mean, I'm just saying, and it works. It works for many. It doesn't sound like fun.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not giving Alan an excuse to cheat.
Okay.
But I'm just giving y'all background.
Please don't.
And even so, like I said before, that sounds terrible. So anyway, this ended up making Alan feel a little resentful towards his wife, Betty. The whole situation had him feeling like he was just being used, which I could understand that. He feels like a piece of meat, Well,
he is being used, but it's for both of our purposes. Because you're going to have this kid with me.
She wants a kid.
Oh, well.
He didn't sit down and say, I want another kid. She wants a kid, and she wants the kid in the time frame that she said she wants a kid.
Well, you have a right to use your husband's body. Let's just call a spade a spade. There's nothing wrong with that.
But on the flip side, if a husband said, I have the right to use your body. Whenever I want sex, you got to give me sex.
Okay, yeah, you really shouldn't
say no. I could hear the collective women all over the United States flipping their desk over right now.
Like, wait, you guys are terrible. But you're not really supposed to say no. I mean, you just should not. So that's why that is a responsibility. It is. I'm just saying.
It is. I'm not saying it's not.
All right.
I'm saying what other women
are probably saying right now.
But I'm saying what other women are saying. Like, they'll agree with you. Yeah, we're supposed to use our husband, blah, blah, blah. But then when I flip the script and said, oh, well, if the man says this, you're supposed to be in the kitchen making me a sandwich.
Right.
It doesn't sound good when the shoe's on the other foot. But again, I'm not giving him an excuse to cheat.
Okay.
So,
as long as we're clear on that.
So this whole situation, along with Betty's unusual complaints, or not unusual, but usual complaints about her minor illnesses, ended up making Alan's marital future just look like just a job he hated. It looked like I don't want to go to work today.
Oh,
but also you're just not going to work. You're actually just going home to your wife. And then when you compare that with the bright happy-go-luckiness of Candy Montgomery, he was like, Now, this didn't mean that he didn't love Betty.
Of course.
Or that he ever wanted to do anything to hurt her. He just felt like really good that someone like Candy would like have these feelings towards a man like him.
Right.
Now that we're all caught up, back to the present.
Okay.
So we already said that they bumped into each other and everything. So as time went by, Alan seemed to joke with Candy more than he joked with like the other women at the church. He teased her about her volleyball skills, and every once in a while he'll give her like this sly wink, like like kind of like they shared a secret together. And after choir practice, they would like hang around and talk to each other a little bit longer than everybody else. Or in the parking lot while everybody else was like getting in their cars, they would just stand there and talk to each other. As if, girlfriends, like, hey, I know you, Char, let's talk about what we're doing this weekend while everybody else is leaving. We're sitting there talking. That's kind of like what they were doing.
Okay.
But the flirting was kind of like subtle. It wasn't in your face like, I don't know, like her pushing her boobs up so he could see, hey, Alan.
It was just innocent, it sounds like, initially, so.
I
can appreciate
flirting.
that.
There is no such thing as innocent
well, not
flirting.
if you're married, but there's innocent flirting if you're not married.
There's no such thing.
It's just called chemistry when you're not
as
married.
Innocent flirting.
Okay.
You always flirt for an end result. Whether it's to make yourself feel good because, I don't know, a guy hasn't looked at you in weeks, or you want to get with this person, or you want to borrow this person's pen. There's always an end game to flirting. You don't just flirt just to flirt. Am I wrong?
Oh, well, I guess it's more subconscious, but you still made a conscious decision, so I guess that's true.
Exactly.
Well, especially if you drop a pen and you wearing a really short skirt. Oh, did I drop that? And you take your time picking the pen up because you got to bend all the way over, touch toes, and then, it's... No, listen, don't you remember Reese Witherspoon? And when she was becoming a lawyer,
oh yeah,
and she goes, "It's the bend and snap."
I love that movie. I hate that part. I love that movie. That part I cannot stand. I don't know why they put that in the movie.
But it was
that
true,
was the
though.
dumbest part of the whole movie.
I agree, especially the dance that came with it. But honestly, but in all honesty, it's extreme flirting, and it's tried and true and proven for many of years with many of women, including myself. It's the bend and snap. It's more of a bend all the way over, grab the pen and snap up and your boobs jump up. It's amazing.
Done that.
Well,
I did that like to my husband as a joke.
Okay.
But in real life, like just out there with a random person, I've never done that.
The whole idea is that you want them to see your tush, and then when you're coming up slowly, well, they see your legs too, and then you're coming up slowly, and then when you snap, then the boobies kind of jump up, so they kind of like jiggle.
No,
they jiggle.
I've never done that. Yeah, I have never done that.
It has
if
a
I
lot
want
of
somebody to look at my
it.
legs, I'll say, "Look at my legs." If I want you to look at my ass, I'll turn around and smack my ass and say, "Look." Like,
you're terrible. It has a lot of advantages. I'm just telling you, it does if you're trying to get a man's attention and do some extreme flirting.
I've never done that. I don't know if I know how to I don't know what you would call it, subconsciously flirt.
That's
subtly
flirt.
I don't think I know how to subtly flirt. I just do what I do.
Well, what's interesting? We have Ky's relationship lessons 101, and we have Char's relationship lessons. So we're both have
and it's
different
completely on different ends of the spectrum. We are completely different.
Well, maybe we should take Candy's advice anyway. Because first she bumped into him, and then she
that's the first thing. Bump into the person. Okay. But anyway, speaking of Candy, so Alan's flirting was so I don't even know, subtle that even
subtle.
No, it was so subtle that even Candy was just like, well, is he just being friendly? She couldn't tell if this was like the flirting was all in her head. So she would be like, is he just being like really friendly? I don't know. But then Alan would end up doing something that was like unmistakably done to get her attention. And then she would just like start like, okay, so he is flirting with me. And then they would go down that whole rabbit hole all over again.
Yeah, he's probably very shy. So that's what happens when you're shy.
Yeah. And as the weeks went by, she ended up just fantasizing about sex with this guy who smelled so good.
Wow.
I wonder what he smelled like.
No, I'm curious, like a brand new baby? I don't know.
But at this point in time, Candy was almost 29 years old, and she was a sexually frustrated 28-year-old woman. Just imagine what that felt like at 28.
Yeah, no, but back then 28 was 38 all day. So you're becoming a little older in your years, back then. So you really feel just terrible, almost frigid.
Well, she was totally honest with herself about that, and she was wondering to herself, like, how many more years
can I even
did she have of this left in her? Like, she wanted to, she kind of wanted to know what she was missing. And so what she decided, like I said in the beginning, when she set her mind to something and she wanted it, she did it. So she decided to do something about this. So after choir practice one night, she got her chance. Alan was already getting into his car, and Candy saw him, and she walked up to the passenger side of his car, opened the door, and said, "Alan." And she leaned into the car doing one of Char's number. And she said, "I want to talk to you sometime about something that's been bothering me." So next scene. So close that scene. Next scene. Now the next scene is just for context, so y'all could understand the background of this. The Montgomerys and the Gores had been friends for a while. Now when I say friends, I mean friends, the kind of friends who met at church, who babysat each other's kids,
play bridge together, like I mentioned earlier.
Candy had met Betty at church, where the two formed a really close friendship. When Betty became pregnant with her second child, Candy even threw her a surprise baby shower.
Wow.
So back to the present. So she told him that, and then a little bit later, after a church volleyball game, Alan and Candy stayed to clean up the gym. And then they walked out to the parking lot together. So this is something that they always do, so nobody was looking at them all crazy. And then when they reached Candy's car, Alan said, "Now," let me put on Alan's voice. "Now, what was it you had in mind?" "Get in," said Candy.
Ooh.
Alan slid into the passenger seat. "Would you be interested in having an affair?"
Wait a minute, who talks like that?
That's what she asked him.
Okay, well, at least she's blunt. Okay, so what happened next?
Yeah. And Alan just, wasn't ready for this. He was just like, "I don't know what to say." And she goes, "It's just something I've been thinking about, and I wanted to say it so I don't have to think about it anymore."
Oh, okay. Get off her.
And he said, "I don't think I could, Candy. I don't think it would be a wise thing to do, because I love Betty. Once when we were living in New Mexico, she had an affair, and that hurt me a lot, and I wouldn't want to do that to her." So Candy said, "That's fine, Alan. I love Pat too. I wouldn't want to hurt him either." And Alan said, "Betty just got pregnant again too, and it would be unfair to her, especially since I don't feel the same way about you that I do about her. So I probably couldn't do something like that."
Oh my goodness.
"Okay, Alan, I was just putting the option out there because of how I felt, and it's up to you to decide. I don't want to hurt your marriage. All I want to do is go to bed. I won't mention it again."
Oh, wow.
Alan leaned across the seat and softly kissed Candy's lips. Then he quickly got out the car.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, Candy was 28. And when Candy turned 29, she got a phone call that she had been waiting for, but was still surprised to get. Now, this book called The Evidence of Love, they really delved into what the affair was about and everything, how Candy and Alan were careful. They said that for weeks, I think it was about 2 weeks, they would speak in what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? It's called hypotheticals, but I'm going to say what ifs. What if this were to happen? What if we were to do that? What if, what if, what if? Now, the authors, Bloom and Atkinson, called this, quote, "the most meticulously planned love affair in the history of romance." Now, I wouldn't call this a romance. To me, it's more of lust. I wouldn't have said in the history of romance, maybe in the history of lust. But anyways, Candy and Alan would sit and they would think up the worst case scenarios of getting caught by their spouses. So they really thought this through. Or if someone from the church spotted them sneaking around. So they would think of all of these scenarios and then the answers to these scenarios. That's some crazy planning.
I mean, talk about premeditation. That would never hold up in court, that it was just an affair, No. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Anyway, so from the start, they established ground rules, I guess, based on their weeks and weeks of planning. So they established ground rules. They agree that either of them could end it at any time. They agreed to only meet on weekdays. They agreed that Candy would make them lunch on the days they did meet so that they had more time to spend together. And they also agreed that all expenses, like, the motel room expense, the gas, and everything like that, would be split equally. They also agreed that there would be no emotional attachment involved.
Wow.
So, like I said, they would meet. Oh, I didn't say this part. And they would meet every 2 weeks. So they started meeting every 2 weeks, starting December 12th, 1978, at the Continental Inn. And while they were having their affair, their lives still remained the same between the couples. They were basically still friends. Candy continued to play the perfect housewife with her husband, and she also held play dates between her children and the Gore children. And like I said,
as everything was normal.
Yeah,
they just carried
like I said,
on,
Candy even threw a surprise baby shower for Betty.
Wow, talk about old.
Yeah, what I didn't say when I said she threw that surprise baby shower was that she was having an affair with Betty's husband behind her back.
Oh, wow.
And they were both acting like nothing was wrong at all.
Nothing different, nothing happened, just normal.
Exactly.
And he's going home, giving his wife a kiss, and all happy about the baby.
Exactly.
Wow, maybe family vacation here or there. I don't know. It's just... Well, people do it, but it's just when you hear it in that manner, it's like, what? It's really very planned out. It's just, I guess you just have to tell yourself that, like, put it in the back of your mind, psych yourself out to maybe convince yourself that it's normal or there's nothing wrong with it and it feels good, so it must be okay. And I'm still being respectful to his wife because we're still friends and I care about the baby that's being born. I mean, you can convince yourself. The human psyche is an amazing thing. The human mind, the human brain is just amazing. You can literally live in an entirely separate world and not see what you're doing, and it's just okay. You could just... it has to be somebody who doesn't have... You have to turn off certain emotions in your brain for this. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could do this to my husband, knowing he didn't do anything to me. Right. And be okay with it. Or even like Alan, he had it done to him. He knew how it felt, and he's turning around and doing it to her. Yeah, Miss New Mexico. So either he put it in his head that, well, I'm getting payback or something. That's what I don't know. Subconsciously. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only way I could think. And then Candy was always just, this is what I want. So she was like a really goal-oriented person. So she was focusing on her goal and not really who the goal was hurting. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was her thing. Well, she could have convinced herself also that it's not fair to her that her husband's but her goal was to do this. So she focuses on what she wants. Yeah, she said she's been thinking about it. So yeah, she doesn't ever. If you remember how I described her, she doesn't ever focus on what is right. She focuses on what she wants. Mm. You see? Mm-hmm. So in July, Betty gave birth to their second child. Now, according to some people who were around them, it seemed like Betty might have been growing suspicious of Alan. Dun, dun, dun. Betty demanded that Alan be home as much as possible, especially once he took a new job that required a lot more travel, which then ended up triggering her fears of abandonment. Right. So over the next few months, Candy and Alan continued their affair, sneaking off whenever possible. However, their meetings became less and less frequent after Betty gave birth. So, feeling guilty about lying to Betty and Pat, Candy suggested ending the affair, and they decided to think it over without making a final decision. In the meantime, Betty had begun to notice changes in Alan and started feeling very depressed by his lack of, if he's out having an affair, he's not really wanting to have sex with Betty. So she started noticing this. Now she's not pregnant anymore. Something's changed. I'm not even pregnant anymore. Yeah, when you're pregnant, you could chalk it up to, it's the baby, you know what I'm saying? But now she's not, so she's now noticing it. And she had complained of aches and pains, and so she began taking prescription painkillers, and those painkillers also helped soothe her anxieties. So, all this is going on at his house. Now, after 7 months of the affair, at Betty's request and Alan's guilt,
Alan and Betty attended this thing called Marriage Encounter, which was a church-led weekend program to help people who were struggling in their marriages.
Okay.
And that weekend ended up being a revelation for the both of them. They talked about their hope for the future. They exchanged notes on their thoughts and feelings about their relationship.
Wow, they got stronger and they renewed their bond.
Yeah, so the
Amazing.
note that Alan wrote was about how he felt distant from Betty and he wanted them to understand each other better.
Mm-hmm.
And then Betty wrote that she didn't do well on her own, but she was grateful for like at least a week alone with just her and her husband.
Yeah.
And because of this, Candy and Alan ended up calling off their affair after this meeting that Betty and Alan had.
It is a realization. It's like, hey, this is a new us, and it's a new second chance.
Exactly.
And, start over.
So he started feeling more loving towards his wife,
which he should.
It's kind of like when you renew your vows and you feel like, okay, it's back to like when we were dating. So this is what happened,
and that's
they
good
called
thing,
off their
normally.
affair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, the night of Friday, June 13th, 1980, I wasn't even born yet.
Wow. Okay. That's why I said you were probably 6-ish when I graduated from high school.
College,
that's
from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord, you're old.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I know. I'm getting
no
older.
problem.
And just so you know,
I hear it every single
months,
day from my daughter, so no problem. So on this night, Alan was away on a business trip, and as he usually does, he called his wife. And the strange thing is, she didn't answer. Which is strange because, as we know, she hated being left home alone. So he was like, okay, maybe she's taking a crap. I don't know. Let me call her back.
Oh, God, you went there. Okay, guys.
So he kept calling, and she kept not answering. So now he's worried because this isn't normal. So he called his neighbor, Richard Parker, and he said, hey, can you go knock on my front door and see if Betty's home? So when he knocked, Betty didn't answer. So then Alan was like, all right, let me call around and I'll call you back. So then Alan hung up with Richard, and he called Candy to see if she had heard from Betty that day. And Candy said, yeah, I saw her earlier. She seemed fine. You know, she came over. She was picking up her daughter's swimsuit, and nothing's wrong. Maybe she fell asleep early. Maybe, I don't know, the kids just had her really tired and she just went to bed early. So don't worry. Everything's okay. So Alan was like, okay, I guess. So, you know, he called Betty a couple more times. She still didn't answer. So now his worry meter is like off the charts.
Yeah.
And he's not anywhere close to home that he can go check on his family. So he called his neighbors again and was like, look, can you check on my wife? I need to know if my wife's okay. If she's sleeping fine, I'll apologize for waking her up, but I need you to check on her or whatever.
Right.
So he said, and don't hang up. Stay on the phone with me. I want to stay on the phone. I want to hear everything as it's happening. So the neighbor went and looked. There's still the cars were in the garage. The lights were on in the house. And, you know, they couldn't figure out how to get into the house. After some hours, one of the neighbors were able to get into the house. And they walked around. And they found the baby daughter, whose name is Bethany. They found Bethany in her crib. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they also found Betty's dead body in the utility room.
Oh, gosh. Dum, dum, dum. Yeah.
And that's where we'll end tonight. We actually got to an hour and it was only halfway through the episode. So that's where we'll end tonight. And y'all will get the continuation of this show next week. Oh my God. Wait till you hear what happened.
I mean, I've got these theories in my head. I'm not going to share them, but I've got a couple of angles I'm going with. because this was a very interesting story, Ky. You're right. So, okay, so just so our listeners know, Ky and I generally have a meeting before our show is being recorded and before we come on and just do all of our exciting banter. And there's a lot of work that goes into it prior to that. But she said to me, you're really going to like tonight's episode. And I said, really? Well, I mean, what's it about? But she kind of keeps me in suspense sometimes. So Ky, you're right. I actually didn't know I don't believe I knew about this one. So this is rather new to me completely, which is kind of exciting if I don't know about a case, everyone. So I'm learning just as you guys are. And of course, some of you listeners, you know all the cases, you know what I mean, that come on.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't know this case, if you don't know this case, do not look it up. Wait for next week ending. Don't look it up.
Yeah.
Just pretend it was like something on the TV and you had to wait till next week for the
just
remainder.
Pause it for a whole entire week.
Continue.
Yes.
Y'all will love the ending. So if you like this episode, which I know all of y'all are cussing me out right now, but if you like this episode, go to Apple Podcasts, hit the purple button, and give us 5 stars. You can say whatever you want in the description, like, F you, Ky. You could give me the 2 middle fingers for leaving y'all in suspense on that cliffhanger. Either way, it helps bring us up in the chart. Don't forget to visit our Patreon and become a subscriber for crazy bonus episodes. And depending on what type of subscription you get, you can have a shout out at the end of our show. Don't forget also to follow us on our YouTube, which the link is below, because we are about to have some amazing stuff happening on YouTube that you won't find on our podcast, and you won't even find that on Patreon. So subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/relationshipcrime, Instagram at Love Murder Podcast. Our new Facebook fan group, just search Love and Murder fan page.
Yay!
And as I continuously remind y'all, we have merch. We have your true crime merch. Stuff that says, stay sexy and don't get murdered. Tonight is a good night for true crime. We have mugs, we have blankets, we have pillows, we have stickers, we have t-shirts, we have a lot of stuff.
Oh, cell phone covers.
We do. We have, and masks also.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, mask. Gotta wear your mask. You might as well wear a Love and Murder mask. Why not?
Just visit loveandmurder.threadless.com, or you could go to our website and hit on shop, and you'll get to our merch. Our website, if you're asking, is www.murderandlove.com. So it's Love and Murder backwards, murderandlove.com, and you can find everything there. And a very, very free and easy way to help out our show is just share this episode. Simply hit share on whatever platform you're on and share it to any of your social medias or text it to a friend. That's a very easy way that you can help us out.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I know, even though y'all probably want to murder me tonight for keeping you on a cliffhanger, I want to remind you of the motto of this show. All love and no murder, y'all. Peace.
Bye. Be safe.